You're watching Slingshot the Podcast, the misunderstood voice, the culture's power. Today's episode is entitled Juneteenth. The invitation to the cookout is gonna cost you. So, Charles, you have to tell me.
Yeah.
What is the fascination people have with being invited to our cookouts?
Well, because we got the flavor, we got the seasoning. That's why.
Yeah.
We got the flavor. We don't put raisins. I'm not gonna go there, but we got the seasoning. I got the seasoned salt. We got the Himalayan salt. We got the oxtail. We got all the flavor. Who wouldn't want to be at our cookout? Who wouldn't want to be in our cookout?
What's proper food for a cookout? Because I have a cousin who will argue if there's macaroni and cheese at a cookout, you're doing something wrong.
If there is macaroni and cheese at the cookout,
yeah,
I agree with that.
Yeah,
because you can't. Where are you grilling macaroni and cheese? So your cousin is right.
Yeah.
If you gotta have for you guys, you carnivores out there, but you gotta have some chicken. Mm-hmm. You gotta say chicken. You gotta have chicken. You gotta have steak. You have to have some fish. That you put on the grill. Some potatoes. What else would I put on? Some peppers. Some vegetables. You have to have all the good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. No mac and cheese. No potato salad. Yeah, you can have potato salad. No mac and cheese.
No mac and cheese. Yeah.
No mac and cheese.
Mac and cheese and greens is not for a cookout.
No, it's not.
Right.
Keep that in your house.
That's wintertime.
That's wintertime.
Foods.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, there is this, if you pay attention to social media and you watch the memes and things that go across, there's always this talk about, I got invited to the cookout, or how do I get invited to the cookout? What does it take for someone from outside of the culture to get invited to the cookout?
You just got to know the culture, man. You don't have to be the culture. Just know it, respect it. That's all we want.
Right.
We want to claim and have our own. So don't try to colonize it. We had enough of the colonizers, right? We just want you to come and have fun, get an experience. We'll invite you to the cookout.
Right.
Don't act like us. Just, enjoy amongst us.
Yeah.
That's it.
And what kind of music can they expect at the cookout?
Everything. A little, everything. Got a little Beyonce over here, a little Jay-Z over there, a little Charlie Wilson over there, a couple blonde dancing, we're going to have everything in there, yeah. To the left, to the left, to the right.
Are you doing boots on the ground?
Yeah, we're doing some boots on the ground.
Yeah.
Our version, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, it's all good vibes.
Yeah,
it's all good vibes to the cookout. As of recently, there has been this new notion that gingers, folks with red hair, should be invited to the cookout because
they should be.
Because they're now considered black folks.
See, no. See, we already starting wrong with should be.
Right.
That's the wrong word.
Okay.
No should. Can we invite them? Absolutely. You need an invitation, but there's no obligation.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we're talking about the cookout because
the cookout. Yeah.
Juneteenth is today.
That's
As people are watching if you're watching this on the day that this episode is launching, it is Juneteenth.
Yeah, it's about us. For us, by us.
For us, by us,
yeah.
for us. Yes.
It's ours.
This is us.
Not the colony. It's ours. So we can invite, but it's ours.
It is ours.
Yeah.
And, I talk about cookout, and I don't use the term picnic. I see a lot of people still use the word picnic.
Yeah, we got a problem with that.
Yeah, I don't use the word picnic. Yeah. So, I don't know if the wives' tales are true or, how the language has gone down, if it's really true what picnic was originated for.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I choose not to use the word. I prefer cookout, barbecue.
Yeah, barbecue.
Hanging out.
That's the reason why I shout out to all the Divine Nine out there, Black Greek letter organizations. We don't call it Greek picnic. We just say the Greek.
Yeah.
That's part of that is the reason behind the term picnic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got to be conscious, right?
You have to be conscious about that, right? Well, we're going to talk about Juneteenth.
Okay.
And so I can't talk about Juneteenth unless I also mention what has recently gone down, which is the burning down of plantations and such down south.
Just happened to burn down. It just happened to burn. Mother Nature. Yeah. No one knows, right?
It's the ancestors, everyone says.
There you go.
Yeah. So there's those memes that are out there. They have black folks, cooking out while the plantation is burning down.
Yeah, a couple hot dogs on a skewer. Yeah, for sure.
What do you think about that heritage? There's some folks who say, we shouldn't be celebrating such an old historic building being burnt down.
Earth to the people, right? History states and it's facts that they used to celebrate when we were the fruit from the tree, right?
Yeah,
they used to celebrate the strange fruit, right?
Right.
Why can't we celebrate? That's the problem. Let us celebrate. Let us have ours.
Yeah,
for sure.
There's been so much talk and people communicate about how they feel the ancestors are moving them. And the ancestors are speaking to us in this time, particularly as things are, a little wild and chaotic.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe in that? Do you believe the ancestors are speaking to us in this moment?
I do. I truly do. The ancestors, I think that, we don't give the strength of the ancestors their due justice. I think they, we listen to, we get certain feelings and certain things happen and we can hear certain things. And I don't think that's, spooky. I don't think it's no hoodoo. I don't think it's nothing bad. I just think that we have a connection to our people.
Yeah.
And the people speak.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's stories of, some of our people finding things by listening to ancestors, learning things because the ancestors passed down knowledge. So I absolutely believe, them ancestors talking. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we can't celebrate Juneteenth without celebrating the ancestors.
That's
so
right.
We're going to take a break, but when we come back, we're going to dig into Juneteenth, why we celebrate it, why it's important, and why it matters. We'll be right back.
Don't go nowhere.
You're watching Slingshot the Podcast, the misunderstood voice, the culture's power, at New Millennium Multimedia Studios. All right, welcome back. And we're still talking about the plantations burning to the ground, in particular the one in Louisiana, the Nottoway Plantation. And kudos to whoever it was that coined the phrase that there was not a way to put that fire out. The ancestors celebrate. So why do we celebrate Juneteenth? Today's episode is entitled Juneteenth, the invitation to the cookout is going to cost you. Why should you know what Juneteenth is all about? It's about celebrating freedom. And it is Freedom Day for those who did not know. On June 19th, 1865, it was that day in history that the enslaved black folks in Texas finally received the message that they had been freed. Now, we know the Emancipation Proclamation was signed way before that, but it took many, many months for everyone to get the message that they were actually freed. And so we celebrate Juneteenth as a country in the United States because it is the day that people actually realized and learned the facts and the truth that they were freed people. So it's really important for us to talk about Juneteenth and celebrate it. Just like there's the 4th of July and folks celebrate independence. Independence from what? From another country? Juneteenth is a way in which black folks here in America celebrate our Freedom Day. And it should be celebrated in the same way that July 4th is in this country. So, 2 years later, after President Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, folks in Galveston, Texas, finally heard the news that they were freed. And this is why we celebrate Juneteenth on this day. There is now a national holiday. It is a federal holiday, Juneteenth. It took until 2021, right? So we had several years to go before Juneteenth became a federal holiday. It is a day that you should be off from work, particularly if you're working in the government. It's a day in which some institutions are closed to celebrate. It is a day to honor the ancestors. And it's started to become a little commercialized in the same way that some holidays do. It's also been, turned into some kind of day of service in the same way in which Martin Luther King Day has turned that way. I just want to make sure that if you are someone whose ancestors slaved away on cotton fields, in rice fields, in indigo fields in this country, that you take the opportunity to celebrate the freedom of your ancestors. Now, I know as leading an organization that does voter registration work, as we are trying to bring voting rights to all folks, we're going to work that day. And our crew, they'll have off another day. But we know we need to be in community on this day to do this work, because I know what our ancestors would want from us. We are their wildest dreams. And so it is that vote that is so important. So I'm happy to be joined by a colleague of mine today. And I'm joined by Dyneco Gibson. She is our Director of Programs at the New Pennsylvania Project. And we are so excited that she's with us today. It was really her idea for us to have this episode today. And so I'd be remiss if I didn't invite her to join us. So welcome to Slingshot The Podcast, Dyneco.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Glad
to be here with you.
So Dyneco, tell us a little something about yourself. Who are you?
So like Khadija mentioned, I'm the Director of Programs and been with the organization for a little over 3 years doing this work in our communities, folks that look like me. And so I enjoy this work and have enjoyed being in the community and talking to folks. And so it's been awesome.
Yeah. So, we were talking earlier about honoring our ancestors and wondering whether or not our ancestors are speaking to us. What do you do to honor your ancestors?
Their blood runs through my DNA.
Yeah.
And so, I think it's really important to celebrate them every day.
Yeah.
Juneteenth is a special day, but I celebrate them and the work that they've done and fought is I celebrate every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know you have your daughter in studio today. Amani is here.
Yeah.
What have you instilled in her in terms of Juneteenth?
How important it is to celebrate our people. We think about all the other things that we celebrate, all kinds of holidays. And this one is special. It's, it's real special. It's mine,
Yeah.
And it's important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As an organization, we work on Juneteenth because there's so many events that are organized and planned across the entire Commonwealth.
Yeah.
And you leading the programs department, there's many events happening.
Yeah.
And so when I think about Juneteenth, I think about how we're trying to talk to folks on the ground to get them to get registered to vote.
Yeah.
And the argument that our ancestors died and fought for our right to vote doesn't seem to be the argument anymore. Why do you think that is?
Maybe not a connection.
Yeah.
Not a connection to the real fight that happened
Yeah.
for many of the things. The fight for Juneteenth, for it to be celebrated, for it to be recognized. Our ancestors fought for so many things, but getting folks registered to vote is a fight.
Yeah.
It's a fight, and also telling people that they're fighting for what they believe in.
Yeah.
And so that's really important.
Yeah. We truly are the culmination of our ancestors' wildest dreams. Some folks walk around with the T-shirts that say, "I'm not my ancestor." We are our ancestors. We are the culmination of their wildest dreams. And so for us to all have the freedom to vote, the right to vote, we need to exercise that.
Right. We're here because of them, because of their fight.
Right.
Because of their fight.
Yeah. So, it's so important that we do honor our ancestors, particularly in this moment here as we're celebrating Juneteenth. And we are currently in a climate in which DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, seems to be a bad word. And there are some that would probably argue that we should not have this holiday. It's really important that we honor our ancestry and we honor those that came before. And what better way to do that than to honor Juneteenth and honor the day in which our people found out that they were truly free, right? Truly free. It goes back, those of you out there also history buffs like myself, the number one thing that the formerly enslaved wanted, the number one desire they had when they finally found out that they were free, it was to find out their family, where their family was, and reconnect with their family. They didn't want revenge, although some did seek it. But for the most part, what these formerly enslaved people wanted was reconnection to the homeland, to their ancestors, to their families. We're talking about mothers who were separated from their children, sent to different plantations across this country. They want a reconnection, and it was the Freedmen's Bureau that ensured they were able to find their lineage and connect. And we talk about this point in history as if it was all good at this point, right? And we know that for a few years following the Emancipation Proclamation, there was lots of success that Black folks were experiencing in owning their own land, working their own land, operating their own businesses. But it didn't take long for Jim Crow, right, and the Black codes to insert itself into history.
Yeah, and I have to jump in. I had to grab a mic just to say this because you're 100% accurate with that. Most Black folk, we just wanted solace, right? We wanted to connect back with our people. I mean, they said one of the most accurate movies out there, they call it, trauma porn. But when we talk about 12 Years a Slave, if you watch the movie, literally, he had the right to seek vengeance on everyone. All he wanted to do was get back to his family. That's all he wanted to do. But that mirrored a lot of our ancestors. They just wanted to get back to the people, the children that was snatched from them, the wives that was taken away from them. They just wanted to get back. That's all we want for the most part. Yeah.
It's fascinating, should have gone through so much and to come out from that and find success in life after enduring a period in time where you weren't able to read. I mean, literally, they would not let you read. You could not learn to read and write. How do you become productive citizens in this country when you can't read or write? Mm-hmm. So, we honor the ancestors in Juneteenth. For me, that's what this day is about. It's about honoring our ancestors. It's about doing the work that they would want us to do in this moment. And I do also believe they want us to experience some joy. Mm-hmm. So, Dyneco, you've been involved in a lot of Juneteenth activities we've had in the last several years as an organization. What type of events have you enjoyed participating in?
Just being amongst people and the music and the culture and so much. When you talk about the cookouts and the seasoning, the spice, all of the things that we bring to the table.
That's right.
And Khadija, you mentioned about the successes that our ancestors had. And we're at risk of losing a lot of those things and not being able to celebrate successes because they are rolling them back.
Right.
And if we're not careful, if we don't use our voice to vote, we're at risk. We're at risk. And so it's a fight.
Yeah.
It continues to be a fight.
Right. Where have you executed Juneteenth events across the Commonwealth? Where have you been?
So I've spent a lot of time in Chester County, also in Chester City, Delaware County, and Philadelphia, all over. And I enjoy it. I never feel like I'm a visitor. I always feel like, wow, I'm with my people, and I enjoy it. I enjoy it.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. You're watching Slingshot the Podcast. This is more than just a podcast. This is a movement to inspire and motivate and mobilize. This is for those whose voices have been unheard, misunderstood, undervalued, and underserved. We're going to talk about sports, culture, entertainment, and we're going to use this to build power in our communities. All right, we're back. When we last left you, we were talking about plantations burning to the ground and honoring our ancestors. And so I want to make sure we all hear the history that goes with these plantations that are burning to the ground, such as the Nottoway plantation in Louisiana. Many of you watched it burn to the ground, and the winds blew and picked up, and the embers grew, so that there was left nothing but rubble, and that's what it should be. There are moments in this current day, people are celebrating eventful events in their life, like weddings and baby showers at places like Nottoway. My opinion is you can find another venue to have your celebration. There's nothing to be celebrating someplace like the Nottoway plantation other than celebrating those who were formerly enslaved there and their freedom. There are other plantations, however, who are doing it the right way, like the Whitney plantation. And the Whitney Plantation is there to tell the truth. And they have tour guides that tell you the truth as you tour the working chattel slavery plantation. And this is the way we learn and learn from history so we do not repeat it. It is places like the Whitney Plantation where we're going to learn more about this history so that we can continue to share it with those future generations. And I'm always discouraged by those who want to talk about this was so long ago. Why are we still talking about Juneteenth? I want to remind all of us it was not that long ago. Ask yourself, have you ever spoken to your great-grandparent? Ever been hugged or kissed by your great-grandparent? My great-grandparent, just one great, my father's grandfather, was born enslaved in 1860 in Mississippi. This is not that long ago. And so we must learn from this history because we are currently still experiencing the after effects and the aftermath of chattel slavery in this country. We'll get into that in maybe another episode and start talking about reparations. But while I have Dyneco with us for this episode as our director of programs, leading incredible work across the entire Commonwealth. You know, we're operating in more than 20 counties at this point, and we're trying to bring civic education and engagement to the communities in which we center, particularly those who might care about Juneteenth. So, Dyneco, tell us a little bit about what you and your family are going to do on Juneteenth or the Juneteenth week, because it's turned into a whole week.
Mm-hmm. And I love that. I love that it's turned into a week, that it's something that we feel good about and that we can celebrate. And so my family, we are at the cookouts and we are at the festivals and all the things that are happening. We are looking for ways that we can join in and participate because it feels good. It feels real good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, you've been doing this for a few years. You kind of gave some ideas of where you've been,
Mm-hmm.
Chester County, Delaware County. We're a statewide organization. Where are some places your team is going to be?
Yeah, so I know where I will be. I will be in Philadelphia at an expungement clinic. And I said, what a beautiful way to celebrate that day where folks are getting things off their records that's been holding them back. And when we talk about freedom, we talk about people not being able to kind of move and maneuver in spaces in their communities because of certain things or being able to get a job.
Right.
I think that is an awesome way to celebrate and being there in those spaces and getting folks registered to vote. Because their voice is important,
Right.
And how many people fought for us to have the ability to vote. And so that's where I will be. But many of our folks within our organization will be at events, and they will be celebrating and honoring this day that a few years ago, I didn't know much about it.
Right.
And so it's a good time for me. It's a good time to be amongst people, like I mentioned before, and an opportunity to just celebrate Blackness, our culture, who we are, unapologetically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. So, the episode is entitled, The Invitation to the Cookout is going to Cost You. Mm-hmm. So there's some folks out here who want invitations to these cookouts. They hear the food is good, the music is great, the vibes are on point. How do you get invited to the cookout? Well, that's the big question in this moment, right? Because Juneteenth is not just about enjoying a day off from work, right? It's just an opportunity for you to reach out to the communities that we as an organization center and others and have a good time, and at the same time, bring something into the community. So, you want to get invited to the cookout? What do you need to bring? What do you need to do? So what would you argue, Charles Gregory? Someone who wants to come in?
There's no question. A bag. Bring your bag.
Yeah.
Bring your purse.
Yeah.
That's all we want. We don't want anything else. Typically what generally happens when it comes to the Black community, especially how money is so quickly taken out of our communities, one of those people or some of the people who don't put money back into the communities are the people who's asking to come to the cookout.
Yeah.
That said, that's the only way you should be invited to the cookout. Bring your bag this time. This is a great way to support. Bring your purse. No question. I don't want any excuses. Just bring your money. That's it. It's that simple.
Bring the money. To circulate the dollars
That's
into the
it.
Black community.
That's it. This is the one time for you to do it unapologetically.
Right. So you go to the corner store.
That's right.
That's operated by an African immigrant, maybe.
Yeah, that's right.
Right?
That's right.
You go to the local restaurants.
That's right.
And maybe bring some of their food to the cookout.
Mm-hmm. All of that. You search up nonprofits if you would like, dump some money in there. You open up your purse. Don't listen. Showers, time to spread the love. You got one time to feel guilty. Go ahead. This is the time to do it.
Time.
Open up your purse and get that money.
Mm-hmm. So, Dyneco, you know what it's like to be involved in development, right? And we talk about fundraising. We're a nonprofit organization.
That's right.
How would you recommend for someone who's attending one of our events, over the Juneteenth week? How would you recommend for them to, donate to our organization so we can continue to do the work that we do year round?
Yeah, absolutely. Just recognizing how important it is and how important it is for us to continue this work, how important it is for us to continue to give the folks that we center a voice. Yeah. And oftentimes, like many things, feel left out of this political process, right. But being able to support an organization, an organization led by a Black woman, founded by a Black woman, give back. Yeah. Give back. And there's many organizations that folks can do this.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we're asking that people get registered to vote on Juneteenth. At least check your voter registration status. Right? Because you may think you're registered to vote, but you're not. Maybe you haven't voted since Obama. Mm-hmm. You are no longer registered to vote if that's the case. That's right. If that's the last time you voted was 2012, you are no longer registered to vote.
No longer registered.
So real quick, explain that to those who's watching real quick. So how long do you have once you register to stay registered, and do you have to register again?
You have to exercise your right to vote, your freedom to vote, enough so that you stay on the voter rolls. Right. Otherwise, the boards of elections, the Department of State, they may think that you're no longer in Pennsylvania. They may think you're no longer living.
Yeah, deceased, right.
Right?
Yeah,
and so you do need to cast a ballot every 5 to 6 years at least, right? I mean, we want people to vote every 6 months in Pennsylvania. But if you haven't voted in 5 or 6 years, the likelihood is you're no longer registered to vote. So you need to check your status. And even for those of you out there who are saying, I'm not sure if I want to be registered to vote, I'm kind of not into politics, I'm kind of not, I'm disillusioned with what's happening in the world right now, I'd say that you go ahead and you get that registration done. Because when you wake up on November 4th and you want to have some say in what's happening in this world, you can't do it if you're not registered to vote. So just get the paper. Get registered to vote. Yeah. Why? The last thing we'll say here, I'm going to give it to you, Dyneco. Why is it important for folks to get registered to vote and then go out and do the second part of that, which is then vote?
Well, listen, I think about, this is a gift, and we, folks, we've been registering high school students, and we were like, congratulations, you're registered to vote. Yeah. Now we want to see you vote. Right. But this is our gift, really a gift to yourself, getting registered because it's important. It's saying I'm here, see me. My voice matters. Mm-hmm. I'm fighting for what's important to me, what's important to my community, and you can't take that away from me. Yeah.
All right. Well, we're closing out today's episode, and if you want to get invited to the cookout, it's going to cost you. We're celebrating Juneteenth, and we want everyone to enjoy this day, this week, and take this home.
That's right.
Take this home to the family. And make sure that you spread the word that we are free. Okay. And in order for us to remain free, we must exercise our freedom to vote. And that's what our ancestors would want from us.
That sounds good.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you for being with us. Enjoy the rest of your day. Find an event. All right. Well, thank you for being with us for this episode of Slingshot the Podcast. And if you want that invitation to the cookout, it's going to cost you this Juneteenth. So how do you get yourself involved in Juneteenth activities? Well, one thing you can do is log on to a website of an organization doing work in the community like ours. And you can go to newpaproject.org, O-R-G, and find out what's happening in your community. And believe me, wherever you live in the Commonwealth, from rural to ex-urban to suburban Pennsylvania, there is a Juneteenth event happening, and we hope you find one, and we hope that you enjoy it. Hey, take Dyneco's advice. Join the expungement event in Philadelphia. Find out how you can get your total freedom back in the Commonwealth. Thanks for being with us today, everybody. I'm Kadita Kenner, and you're watching Slingshot the Podcast, the misunderstood voice, the culture's power.